Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to learn about the components of an essay and their purpose. On your screen, you're going to see that there are two maps. Now, what is the purpose of a map? The purpose of a map is to show you how to get from a starting point to an ending point. All right, so let's say in my top map, I want to travel from Denver, Colorado, all the way to Indianapolis, Indiana. Well, I know my starting point is Denver and my ending point is Indianapolis. So I just need to look at the map and see how I get from my starting point to my ending point. In writing, it's the same thing. You will have a beginning point and an ending point, and you have to fill in everything in between. Now on our second map, it's the same concept or idea. Let's say I want to start in Noblesville, Indiana, and I want to know how to get to Anderson, Indiana. Well, I have my starting point and I have my ending point. So I need to know where I start at to get to where I end. Writing is exactly the same thing. And today we're going to make a flow map. Now this flow map is titled Essay Writing. With the flow map, we'll have a starting point at the top, and then we'll have stops along the way of our writing, and then we'll have an ending. And I know that you guys will be able to help me fill in where we start and what that's called. So here we go, our beginning point. What is the first sentence of an essay or story called? It's called a topic sentence. So we are going to start with the topic sentence in the beginning. Write a topic sentence which tells the reader the topic of your paper. Be sure to indent. Now, after I've introduced my topic, what do we begin writing about? We start with our first big idea. Here we go. Write your first big idea and be sure to use a transition word. Examples are first of all, at the start, and to begin with. Now, after our first idea, where do we go next? We jump into our details for our first big idea. So that will go next in our flow map. Add interesting details and examples for your first big idea. Make sure to use vivid vocabulary that helps paint a picture for the reader. When we say vivid vocabulary, we mean words that are going to be more exciting and more interesting to read about. Now, after I've done my first big idea and I've done the details, what comes next? We then go into our second big idea, which is very similar to the first big idea. But we're going to use different transition words because it's not the beginning, it's the middle of our essay or story. We'll use words like next, after that, or additionally. Now, after your second big idea, do we jump into our third big idea or do we add details? We add details. You have to make sure to add details to our writing to make it interesting to read. Make sure, continue to use exciting vocabulary that paints a picture for the reader. Because you don't just want to read some sentences that are just boring. You've got to add those fun and exciting words. Now, I've talked about my first big idea and the details. I've talked about my second big idea and the details. What comes next? Our third big idea. With our third big idea, we're allowed to use different transition words because we're closing up our essay or story. You can use words like finally, lastly, or in addition. Now, first big idea, details. Second big idea, details. Third big idea, what comes next? Details. And you want to make sure to use that strong vocabulary, those words that are more exciting. What will be the last kind of sentence in our story to remind the reader what we read about, but to end? That will be called the concluding sentence, and you'll see it here in just a second. There it is. You want to make sure you restate the topic in a different way.